Hello everyone, welcome to this video where I'll be sharing with you how to play against the Trompowsky Attack. The Trompowsky Attack has been very popular for white because it's a good way to mix up your openings and it provides a lot of sharp lines and it steers black out of his regular openings. And when I started playing, I was very confused on how to refute this line. But 6 months ago, I found this nice line, and today I'll share that with you all. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, the Trompowsky attacks the d4, knight f6, bishop g5. And knight f6 is a very popular move. Of course, d5 can also be played, where the Trompowsky attack would not be that great, but like let's just say c4 c6 and you get the Slav or the Queen's Gambit declined. So this is not the move, so we play knight f6. Of course, then if c4, then we have multiple options. We can play g6, e6, the Benoni with c5. G6 leads to the Grunfeld or the King's Indian, which is also a very popular line. But for today's purposes, we will be talking about the Trompowsky attack. Now, what is White's purpose? He wants to take on f6 and start an attack on the king side, and he wants to control the center. So for many years, Black's main move was knight e4, which is still okay, and I played it for a while, but I found that lines like h4 and bishop f4 were a little hard to memorize. And so I decided against bishop g5 to play the slightly lesser known move c5. And the point of c5 is to get this basic structure where you're fighting for the center. And if, let's just say, White takes, you can take with the e pawn and support this pawn. And the taking with the e pawn is much more comfortable because, like in the game Carlsen Karyakin in the 2016 World Championship, there was a line where eventually Karyakin took with the g pawn, and it was just, I felt like it was uncomfortable for Black to play. So after c5, there's a couple of moves. I think the most harmful, quote-unquote, was d5. But then you can just play knight e4. And h4 doesn't work very well because of this new move, per se, is queen b6. Taking advantage of the bishop's early development on g5 and threatening the pawn on b2. Okay, so d5 isn't that strong. I mean, there's not many lines in this opening that are that strong, but so let's continue to knight c3. Here we have two options. I like d5 here, but we can also play cd, queen d, knight c6, queen f4, e5. But then again, you have to take with the g pawn, and it leads to some complicated structures. So I like to play d5 here. And after bishop f6, ef6, again we can take with the pawn. dc5, we don't take bishop takes e5 immediately, because of course knight d5 or queen d5 would be great. We will play d4. And this move attacks the knight, and next move we'll take. So after knight e4, defending the pawn, we can already see that the white knight is not very well placed, and we can continue our development with knight c6. And I don't want you guys to make the same mistake that I did. Just don't care about the c5 pawn. You will get it eventually. Like immediately you can just attack f5 and get it. But just continue your development, get a good position, because it's very hard for white to defend this c5 pawn. Anyway, coming back. So knight c3 will play d5. So let's get back to our lines. So after c5, There's another line that we saw, bishop f6. But now we can just play ef6 and defend this pawn. So that's not a threat. So after ef6, the main try is d5. But here we can just go d6, e4, and g6 and get this nice little position. We'll play bishop g7, castle, move our rook to e8, and we'll get like a nice queenside attack. And I find these positions to be very comfortable. So let's just say he plays knight f3. We'll play d5. So in these lines, our main goal is to get these two pawns in the center. Because in the Trompowsky, that is what white does not want. Anyway, d5, knight c3, knight c6. And again, there's not much white can do here to contest against this line. Again, if we go here, takes knight d4, we get the same line where we can even just play f5 immediately now. But so yeah, it's not very harmful. So the third move here is e3. I played this in a game, and in the game I played cd ed d5, where I got a nice position. I got a nice queenside attack on queen b6 and a6 b5, and I won that game. But after the game, I saw that there's an improvement, which is d5. Again, getting our two pawns on the central squares. And there's a couple of options for white. He can go knight c3, and we'll just play e6. And just look at this position. Black is so comfortable here, and white is already confused. Why is my bishop on g5? Because it's blocked down already. He cannot take because of queen takes, and we're definitely better. So it's already a great position here for black. And after a couple of moves, bishop d3, knight c6, knight f3, we can kick this bishop with h6. And yeah, we have a great position. We can move our bishop to e7, short castle, maybe even play c4, a6, b5, b4. Bishop can go to d7, b7. There's many moves here. So knight c3 is not a great try. So let's see dc5. And here we can think that we are white and play against the queen's gambit accepted with e6. Another try here is knight e4, bishop h4, knight c6, c4. But I mean, the lines are a little complicated here, so I don't recommend knight e4. I just recommend the simple e6, c4, bishop c5, knight f3, and short castle, and we get again a fantastic position out of the opening. And let's just say he takes. We'll take back with our queen. And this is not a huge concern for us, because even though the g file is open, his king is uncastled, and we have faster development here. Okay, so e3 is not a problem. Let's go to knight f3 after c5. Here it's a little bit tricky, because if we go for a d5, it's not a terrible move, but all of a sudden there's a little bit of complications. For example, because the d4 pawn is defended, white can go c4. And yeah, all of a sudden it's a little bit more tricky. So avoiding this is our best way, and we'll just play cd4, knight d4, and now because the c5 pawn is not here, we can play knight e4. And this gives black a major advantage, because bishop h4, knight c6, knight d2, knight d, queen a5, c3, knight f5, and we have a great position out of the opening. True, our bishops aren't developed, but we can just play d5 or d6, g6, bishop d7, and we have faster development. But we can harass this bishop and queen d5, centralizing our queen. And again, out of the bat, we have a fantastic position. So that is not an issue. So, sorry, 1 second. cd, knight d, knight e4. Again, this is absolutely great. And let's just say if he plays bishop f4, we can just go d6, threatening e5, and we have a great position. So, the last move, dc5. Again, we can just transpose to our moves e6, e4, bishop c5, and we have a fantastic position. Okay, so a summary of this video. Against the Trompowsky attack, play c5, and the main goal is to combat the center, and usually in all the lines except knight f3 you want to go d5, and against knight f3 you want to take and go knight e4. Alright, I hope this video helps you in your tournament games, and hopefully this line will get you success. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please subscribe. Thank you. Bye.